Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're joining me today, there's a really good chance you've just looked up and spotted it. That dreaded, slowly expanding brown ring on your ceiling. It literally induces immediate panic, right? You're probably wondering, how much is this going to cost? Is my ceiling about to cave in? Who do I even call? Well, take a deep breath. Today, we're basically acting as your personal triaging dispatch. We've pulled insights directly from top roofing pros right here in San Diego, and we're going to break down exactly what that stain means, how you can secure your home literally right now, and what your next steps need to be. No fluff, just practical answers. So let's dive in.
Okay, here's our action arc for today. First, spotting the ceiling stain. Then, your first hour action plan. Third, tracing the hidden source. Fourth, the San Diego climate factor. And finally, repair costs and next steps.
Section 1. Spotting the ceiling stain. Symptom versus source.
We've got to start with a huge mindset shift about that brown spot above your head. And it's this. The stain marks the symptom. It doesn't mark the source. Think of it kind of like a medical diagnosis. The discoloration on your ceiling, that's simply the spot where the water finally dropped down onto your drywall. It's basically your roof waving a red flag telling you water found a way in. But the actual entry point, it's almost always upslope from that spot. You see, water hits your roof, it runs down the rafters or the underside of the deck, and then it just plummets at the very first low point it finds. It's a bit like a gravity puzzle.
But here's the kicker. Not every ceiling stain is actually a roof leak. We absolutely have to differentiate a genuine leak from a total fake-out. A true roof leak leaves a really distinct brown or rust-colored ring that spreads outward. It gets darker at the center, and you'll notice it grows during or right after it rains. But on the flip side, living in San Diego, our coastal marine layer often pushes super humid air into poorly ventilated attics. And when that moisture drips down, it creates condensation stains that look exactly like leaks, but they actually happen on dry, cool mornings. Or, you might just have a plumbing issue, like an HVAC condensate line or a leaky second-floor bathroom. So here's your simple test. If it grows with the rain, it's the roof. If it happens on a dry, chilly morning, you'll want to check your ventilation or your plumbing.
Moving on to Section 2, your first hour action plan. Protect the home.
Okay, so you've done the test and confirmed it is in fact a roof leak. You are officially in the first hour. Your immediate goal right now is purely to stabilize the interior. Do not, and I mean absolutely do not, try to climb onto a wet, slippery tile roof. We're keeping you safe on the ground. Here are your 4 critical first-hour actions. First up, clear the area and catch the water. Move your furniture, grab your electronics, and get a bucket and some towels down. Remember, water tracks along the framing so it can drop several feet away from where it actually entered. Second, relieve any bulge in the ceiling. We'll talk about exactly how to do that in a second. Third, kill the power to the area if the water is anywhere near a light fixture or a ceiling fan. Go flip that circuit off until the whole area is completely dry, because that is a major electrical hazard. And fourth, document the whole shebang. Snap a photo of the stain, write down the date, and make a note of whether it's actively dripping. That info is absolute gold for your roofer and your insurance company later. Oh, and one more thing. Whatever you do, do not repaint over an active leak. I know it's tempting, but it just hides the problem, traps the moisture, and practically invites mold to take over.
Let's zoom in on that second step for a minute, because I know it sounds incredibly counterintuitive. If your ceiling drywall is sagging and bulging, it means water is pooling heavily right above it. You have to relieve that bulge. You're going to place a bucket underneath and push a small nail or maybe a screwdriver right into the lowest point of the bulge. Now, purposefully poking a hole into your own ceiling, yeah, it feels completely crazy. But letting that water drain in a controlled stream prevents the absolute disaster of a massive, heavy, waterlogged section of drywall just crashing down into your living room. A tiny little drain hole is a super cheap fix compared to replacing a collapsed ceiling.
Section 3. Tracing the hidden source, the detective work.
All right, the immediate danger inside is handled. Your bucket is catching the drips. So now we transition into diagnosing the problem. It's time to play detective. To find the source without tearing your whole roof apart, you really have to think like water. And water, as we know, always runs downhill. So find the highest point of the interior stain and mark it. Inside your house, the top edge of that discoloration is the point closest to where the water dropped off the framing. Then go outside, stay safely on the ground please, and look at your roof directly above and slightly uphill or upslope from that interior mark. Whatever penetration point you see closest to that spot up there, that is your prime suspect. By paying close attention to where the stain actually is, you can narrow down the culprit surprisingly fast. For example, if the stain is below or just downslope of a vent pipe on your roof, the most likely source is a cracked pipe boot. Actually, a cracked rubber-type boot is literally the single most common cause of leaks on San Diego roofs that are over 10 years old. Now, if the stain is near a wall, a chimney, or a spot where two roof planes meet, you're usually looking at a step flashing failure. And what if you have a stain in a totally random spot with absolutely nothing above it? Well, that's often a slip tile or underlayment that has severely aged out.
Section 4. The San Diego Climate Factor. Leaks in a dry city. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, wait a minute, it barely ever rains in San Diego. How are roof leaks such a massive problem here? Well, it basically comes down to 3 climate factors. First off, our notoriously long dry spells actually hide slow leaks. A piece of flashing can quietly seep water for 2 entire winters before the stain finally makes its way to your interior paint. And honestly, by the time you see it, the wood decking underneath might already be rotting. Second, our coastal marine layer and salt air, especially if you're anywhere from Coronado up to Carlsbad, corrode metal flashings way faster than they do in inland areas. And third, this is a huge one for Southern California. Tile underlayment quietly ages out right under our noses. Those beautiful clay or concrete tiles might last a literal century, but the felt layer beneath them on a 25-year-old roof? Not a chance. If even one single tile slips, water hits that brittle old felt and goes straight into your house.
Section 5. Repair costs and next steps. The treatment plan.
Okay, so we know how to spot the leak, we know how to stabilize it, and we have a good guess at where it's coming from. Now we move to the final phase, the transparent financial realities of 2026, and figuring out your specific treatment plan. I really want to de-escalate some of the financial panic right off the bat here. Not every brown spot on your ceiling demands a total roof replacement. The starting cost for a common minor roof repair, like fixing that super common cracked pipe boot we talked about earlier, usually runs between $250 and $550. And that smaller number is often the reality because most everyday leaks are just localized flashing or penetration repairs. That being said, we do have to be honest and contrast those small fixes with the larger, unavoidable costs. If the job requires actually opening up a section of the roof, the costs are going to climb. Repairing complex valley flashing, for instance, can run you anywhere from $1,400 to $3,800. And if that aging felt underlayment we mentioned has completely failed across your entire tile roof, well then, you're looking at a full lift and relay. That means removing all the tiles, putting down brand new waterproof underlayment, and putting the tiles back on. For that, you're looking at between $14,500 and $22,000. It's also really important to note that while homeowners insurance usually covers sudden storm damage, like a tree branch crashing down, they generally aren't going to cover gradual damage from a roof just getting old.
Which brings us to your absolute most immediate next step, deciding when you actually need to pick up the phone. We draw a very clear line here. You need to call for 24/7 emergency dispatch if your ceiling is actively dripping, if the drywall is visibly sagging, or if you watch the stain growing across consecutive rainstorms. That is an active emergency and you need a pro out there to save your interior. But if the stain is old, bone dry, hasn't changed its shape in years, or maybe it hasn't even rained in weeks, you can totally wait for normal business hours. Just call and schedule a planned moisture meter inspection when the pros are on the clock.
And that leaves us with one final thought to ponder. In a climate like ours, where months can pass without a single drop of rain, your roof's health is so often just out of sight and out of mind. So ask yourself, are your long dry spells hiding a slow leak right now? Seriously, don't wait for the next atmospheric river to find out. Booking a proactive inspection during the dry season puts the power back in your hands. It lets you fix a $250 pipe boot today rather than paying for a totally collapsed ceiling tomorrow. Thanks for walking through this explainer with me, everyone, and stay dry out there.